mercy, and perfection. This is just a quick overview of Chapter 7, Sections 1 through Section 3, and Anne Conway's Principles of the Most Ancient and Modern Philosophy. God created his creatures in his image in every way except they lacked the ability to be self-sufficient. Conway states that creatures possess the principle of perception. They have the ability of sense and thought. They can feel characteristics such as love, desire, joy, and grief. And each one of these affect the creation in one way or another, which typically will lead them down the path of good, which brings them to be more like God and bring their spirituality into a positive way, or they tend to be swayed in a way of sin and create an evil characteristic or behave negatively. The creation is a substance in respect to its nature, so that it only varies according to its modes of existence, which are in the physical form, which is corporeality, or in the spiritual form. In this chapter, Conway introduces the division of power, God being the highest power, Christ being the mediator, and humans are the lowest. Every creation has a body and a spirit, and the body and the spirit are interchangeable, and they also create a relationship of love because the spirit tries to please God in a way that ultimately leads them to the highest spiritual form, and the body does what pleases the spirit. God bestows his divine attributes of infinite love, light, and goodness to each creation, but corporeality causes them to have flaws due to its ability to be tainted by sin and negative thoughts and feelings, and the creation strives to become more spiritual in order to please God. And if they do something that is not pleasing to God, they are then punished, and each punishment is different because it all depends on the sin that was committed, which leads me to infer that all God's creations must be changed or restored in order to become into the condition that they were in when they were first created. And then we'll learn more about the difference between the body and the spirit as we continue reading into Section 4 and throughout the rest of the book. And I've chosen some questions from this week's discussion board post. Firstly, Marquasia Bruton asked, do you feel as if I infer that means the creations, become more corporal in the original state before their own wrongdoing? I believe that creations start to become more tainted due to being in the physical form, which means that it is more susceptible to sin. And the body is associated with badness, and the spirit becomes bad once it enters the physical form. Conway states that if one were to ask whether the spirit becomes more corporal than they previously were in their original state, meaning as just the spirit outside of the physical body, then the answer would be yes. At the same discussion post, Tiara Woods asked, why is change only talked about in reference of good versus evil? I think change is often talked about in reference to good and evil because the physical form is irrelevant, because the spirit is what was created in the sense of being infinitely good or bad. And Conway explains that nothing can be fully evil because God punishes it in order to restore it to its original goodness. And in this passage, she explains that creatures cannot proceed infinitely towards evil nor fall into inactivity or silence because they're always in motion. So it would be to discuss that the cursed spirit of darkness is trying to inhabit or take over the physical form, which leads the spirit to either become good or evil. And these are my reference. Thank you.